There are moments that rewrite you, moments so quietly devastating that you walk out of the room a completely different person than when you walked in. I watched someone die, and I did not expect it to teach me the single most clarifying lesson of my entire life about what courage actually is. It was not a battlefield, not a movie, not a slow motion scene with a swelling score. It was a hospital room, fluorescent lights, the hum of a machine, and one person choosing how to hold themselves inside the worst thing imaginable. That choice, made in near silence, was the most courageous act I have ever witnessed, and it had nothing to do with fighting. We have been sold a lie about bravery, the loud, chest-pounding, teeth-gritting version where courage screams its own name and someone nearby films it. The courage I watched was the opposite. It was a person letting go of the need to control the narrative, softening their face, and deciding to be present instead of terrified. She had every reason to rage, to bargain, to demand more time the way the rest of us would have, and for a while she did, we all do. That's not weakness, that's just being human. But at some point, and I could not tell you exactly when, something in her shifted, and what replaced the panic was this unbearable, almost offensive calm. I say offensive because the rest of us in that room were still white-knuckling it, still running the helpless math of what-ifs, still making deals with whatever we could think of. She had moved somewhere we had not, and watching her get there without a map was the scene I will never stop thinking about. Here's what I used to think courage was: doing the scary thing despite the fear, pushing through, muscling past. But what I watched was someone who stopped muscling altogether, who decided that the most radical act available to her was to simply be honest about what she felt without performing strength for our benefit. She told us she was scared, not as a confession, not as an apology, but as a fact she was willing to hold in the same hand as her love for us. That combination, fear and love held simultaneously without one canceling the other out, is the definition I now carry everywhere. The irony is that the people in that room, trying hardest to look brave, were the least helpful, while the person with every reason to collapse was somehow holding the whole room together by refusing to pretend. She was not performing dignity, she was practicing it, and the difference is enormous. I have since learned there is a psychological term for this, something researchers call equanimity. But I will be honest, the word feels too clean for what I watched. What I watched was earned, moment by moment, inside an experience none of us would choose. After that room, I started doing things differently. I started saying what I actually meant in conversations I had been postponing for years, not dramatically, not with a speech, just plainly. The courage she modeled was not cinematic, it was conversational, and that made it completely replicable. I started sitting with discomfort instead of immediately reaching for the exit. Whether that exit was distraction, or sarcasm, or changing the subject, all of which I was a professional at. She had modeled something I had never tried before, just staying in the room emotionally, without flinching. The misconception I needed to kill off was the idea that courage requires certainty, that you act bravely only when you know the outcome will be worth it. She had zero certainty and zero outcome to look forward to, and she was still choosing how to show up. Which means courage has nothing to do with odds. I now ask myself a question before I avoid something hard. Is this actually dangerous, or does it just feel uncomfortable? Because those two things have been masquerading as each other my whole life. The answer almost always humbles me. What she taught me is that bravery is not a gear you shift into under pressure, it is a practice, which means it is available right now, in small, low-stakes moments that are building or eroding the habit every single day. The person I watched die had clearly been practicing for a long time, and I just did not know I was watching the result of all those invisible repetitions. I am more comfortable with uncertainty now, not because I resolved it, but because she showed me that uncertainty is not the problem, resistance to uncertainty is the problem. That is a lesson I would not have chosen, but I would not give back. Grief and gratitude are a deeply uncomfortable combination to carry at the same time, and I will not pretend I have figured out how to balance them gracefully. But she sat with both, and so now I try to as well, because the alternative is to waste the lesson she left behind. Discipline and courage looks boring from the outside. It looks like someone not avoiding the difficult conversation, not catastrophizing, not performing toughness. It is quiet, it is consistent, and it is the most important work I know how to point you toward. If this moves something in you, subscribe and check out all our other topics.